You haven't seen this picture in the headlines over the past few days, even though it is the most important one. It tells a story of the Middle East today, and in fact, the story of the Middle East for the last 100 years. Imagine if an IDF soldier had kidnapped a small Palestinian girl. The world would lose its mind. It would be on the front page of every newspaper, every TV broadcast, and people would still be talking about it years later. But you didn't see this picture because it is of a Druze girl kidnapped by Muslims who murdered her relatives. This happened just now in a horrific massacre. Hundreds of Druze were murdered, and the world is silent. It happened this week in Sweida, southern Syria, not far from Israel, but very, very far from the spotlight. The Druze are an Arabic-speaking religious minority. Around 1 million Druze live in Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. The footage from there is extremely disturbing, reminiscent of October 7th, but I can't show it here. What makes this absolute madness is that in the very same week, outlets like the BBC, Al Jazeera of course, Time magazine, and the New York Times were showing stage photos from Gaza, or images of children suffering from genetic illnesses, making them look severely malnutritioned. Credit where it is due. The German newspaper Bild exposed this Gaza fake victim industry. Every image you see from Gaza is one Hamas either staged or approved. Just think about this insanity. The international media showing fake or staged pictures to make Israel look bad, instead of talking about the massacre of the Druze, instead of showing pictures of kidnapped women and children. So how do we explain this madness? Why do Palestinian lives get headlines and protests while the Druze are ignored? And I could ask the same about the children in Yemen or Sudan. Why don't they get headlines? Christian girls are being kidnapped in Egypt, yet the media is silent, a deafening silence. Why is it that in global media, in parliaments and on the streets, you hear only about the Palestinians? Do Palestinian lives matter more than others? It can be summed up in one word: narrative. The brutal persecution of Druze doesn't fit the narrative. Here's what's really happening in the Middle East. Every minority is persecuted by Muslims: the Druze and Assyrians in Syria, the Coptic in Egypt, the Baha'i, Zoroastrian, and Bolak in Iran, the Christians in Iraq, the Hindus in Pakistan. There is not a single minority that thrives in the Middle East under Islamic rule. The Middle East, once a diverse, multi-ethnic region, is going through violent Islamization. Only one minority has managed to fight back successfully against the Islamists: the Jews, and to a large extent the Kurds. This isn't about one incident, and it is not just that the West doesn't understand Syria. The West doesn't understand and doesn't want to understand the Middle East. It doesn't want to understand the Muslim world. The West refuses to face reality. Why? Because when Muslims persecute Druze or Christians, you can't shout colonialism. When Iran crushes the Baha'is, no one calls it genocide. When Christians vanish from Iraq, no one shouts ethnic cleansing. For mixed reasons, guilt, ignorance, and ideological blindness, the West narrative dictates that the West is the villain, Muslims are the victims, and as such, they are never to blame for anything. And when reality doesn't match the narrative, it is ignored. Whether it is Syria, Yemen, where there is a very real famine, or even crime and sexual assault statistics involving Muslim communities in Western Europe. That's why the Druze are ignored. The West has decided Syria is okay now, that al-Julani is no longer a jihadist. And so when Muslims call for the killing of Jews and Druze in Syria, it is not broadcast. It is not that the life of a Druze girl in Syria is worth less than the life of a Palestinian girl. No one would openly claim that, but it doesn't fit the narrative, so it is not discussed, not in the media and not among the opinion makers. John Oliver won't talk about it, Joe Rogan won't talk about it, Piers Morgan won't talk about it, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson won't talk about it. And if no one talks about it, if no one mentions it, if the world ignores it, it is as if it never happened. The irony is that the West doesn't understand Hamas, but Hamas understands the West perfectly. Hamas knows exactly how to play the game. They know that to win sympathy, they have to play the victim. Look at this tweet. Hell is happening now where I live. Pray for us, Gaza. On the surface, nothing unusual. Life in Gaza is indeed hard. But look at when it was posted. October 7th, just 4 minutes after Hamas launched its attack. While I, like most Israelis, was still literally and figuratively asleep. They had just started firing rockets. The Gaza Islamists were on their way to commit the most brutal atrocities, to murder civilians, and already they were playing the victim card. That morning, Hamas didn't just launch a military assault, they launched the narrative war. And by October 8th, anti-Israel protests had already begun. Large part of the West couldn't wait to embrace it. The story of the Druze proves there is nothing new in the Middle East. The Islamists are not some new misunderstood force. They have been persecuting and erasing minorities for over a century, and they are winning. The West, meanwhile, is too busy filtering reality through hashtags to notice. Maybe the solution is simple. The Druze, the Kurds, the Christians of Iraq and Egypt, the children of Yemen, they just need better PR. Open TikTok accounts, stage photos, maybe then the media will care. Or maybe the solution is hard. Maybe the West needs to open its eyes and change course. Instead of obsessing over Israel, it might need to confront the real problem in the Middle East, the much bigger, more uncomfortable truth, the systematic persecution of all minorities by Muslims. The problem isn't colonization, the problem is Islamization. Before we finish, I want to show you the video of Islamists kidnapping Druze women. This short clip sums up everything you need to know about the Middle East. You see the Islamists exactly as they are, brutal, yet somehow in their sick narrative, still the victims.
هذا معانا نساء من الطائفة الدرزية معززات مكرمات.
بإذن الله.
شوف الصاير بارفع ايدك يا اختي ارفع ايدك.
ارفع ايدك.
ارفع ايدك شوف. هذا من وراك يا حكمة اجري.
داعش البنيات صار داعش.
شوف.
داعش.
شوف هذا من
نسأل الله
قصفكم يا كلاب. يا خنزير خطات الناس هذه برقبتك. يا ابن الحرام. خطات الناس هذه برقبتك. وش ذنب هذولا؟ ها؟ يا ولي يا كلب يا ابن الحرام تتمشي مصالحك الشخصية. يا ولي بإدلب في دروز معززين ومكرمين. بسويدة معززين ومكرمين. هذه جرية هنا معززين ومكرمين يا كلب. سويت حجة مشان تمشي مصالحك الشخصية يا ابن الحرام. شوف وش ذنب هذول الأطفال؟ ايش ذنب؟ خالتي منو انقتل عندكم؟
ابني وجوزي ومرت.
ليش؟
مرت ابني.
سبب منهم والهجري. اجري لعنة الله عليه إلى يوم الدين. لعنة الله عليك يا خنزير. شوف.
Share this video, like and subscribe. Thanks to all my supporters, you keep me going. All eyes on the Druze. Yalla bye.